What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez reactions. With the UFC Houston card now wrapped up, what were your thoughts on the event? And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. As for the event, things started off slow. The prelims were pretty lackluster. We only got one finish, and that was Jocelyn Edwards submitting her opponent in round 2. Everything else went to a decision. As for the main card, well, it was better than the prelims. At least we got some more finishes. Notably, Melquizael Costa's spinning back kick which led to a TKO on Dan Ige with only 6 seconds remaining in the first round. And Uroš Medic knocked out Jeff Neal in the first round. Very impressive, Medic. Anyways, let's move on to the main event. Before the fight, Polymarket revealed that someone had placed a $300,000 bet on Strickland to win $1 million. So how did things play out? In round 1, the two started off slowly feeling each other out, and Strickland continuously threw jabs. Later on, Sean landed a nice combo on Fluffy, but nothing came from it. Then Fluffy went for a takedown, but Sean was able to escape. The rest of the round ended with the two exchanging strikes. In round 2, we saw a continuation of round 1, but Strickland did land some nice jabs in his exchanges. Near the end of the round, Fluffy had Strickland against the cage, and Strickland landed a nice elbow. Other than that, nothing much happened. Round 3, we once again saw Strickland sticking to the game plan. Then, out of nowhere, Sean landed a nasty knee, which had Fluffy hurt, and then Sean began raining punches and earned himself a TKO win in round 3. Huge performance from Sean Strickland. What were your thoughts on the fight? Now, let's take a look at some reactions. Nasruddin Imavov said, "My dream. Bring me the clown for the crown." Conor McGregor said, "That's what nothing but hours and hours of sparring gets you. Just show up and spar every day and voila. Overthink nothing. Who gives a haha. Sean is great." Terrence McKinney said, "Sean looked locked in nasty work, just was a step ahead all night." Bilal Muhammad said, "Fluffy kryptonite is the body." Alan Juban said, "Impressive." Damon Martin said, "Of course Sean Strickland gets a knockout. Did not see that coming." The MMA Guru said, "Sean Strickland with a generational performance against a dangerous prospect in Anthony Hernandez. Pop his jab early, stuff all his takedowns. Then, as I predicted, hurts Fluffy to the body and finishes by TKO in round 3. Adam Martin said, "I didn't see that upset coming. I really thought Anthony Hernandez was championship material. What a performance by Sean Strickland. Seriously, one of the best performances by any UFC fighter this year." The main card of UFC Houston truly delivered tonight. Khamzat Chimaev talks about fighting Alex Pereira. As we've been covering recently, Khamzat has been calling out Alex Pereira, and now we've got Khamzat talking about that matchup during a recent podcast appearance. While on the Jackson podcast, Khamzat addressed the potential fight and said his interest in moving up has nothing to do with Pereira specifically. According to Khamzat, he simply wants to become a double champ and to be part of big fights.
Do you feel like you could move up in weight?
I'm probably almost that weight class.
Yeah. So 205, is that something that I know you were calling out Pereira. He ignored that, right? There was never any response?
No, never response, but so we'll see if anyone else. I want just become a double champ. And then I can go back to my weight class or stay there or go out more up. Try. I'm not that guy who's trying to go out from the UFC like undefeated this and that. I don't care. I just want to make some stuff.
So what about Khamzat's next UFC fight? Well, it looks like we got some huge news late last night. As we've been covering, Khamzat and Khalil Roundtree have been training together recently. During the podcast, Chimaev revealed that he's currently training twice a day with Khalil, who fights at light heavyweight.
So right now, Khamzat, this is just like a pre-camp. You just 2 times a day, cardio, pads, workout. Is that what we're in right now?
Yeah, well, I always train like that kind of, So when I'm not sick, just be in the gym, training twice a day. So,
hey, you love being in here. You never leave.
I don't know. I need other work to do.
Speaking of Khamzat potentially fighting at light heavyweight, after the podcast aired on YouTube, he tweeted 205. But that's not all. Later that same day, Kevin K reported that, per his sources, Khamzat Chimaev will move up to face Jiri Prochazka in the main event of UFC 327. According to the report, the fight would be for the vacant light heavyweight title. Now, some of you might be confused because we previously reported via MMA Oe that Jiri was set to face Carlos Ulberg for the vacant title, but it looks like something may have changed. As for the MMA world, the reaction to this news was very mixed. Some fans were annoyed that Khamzat would get a shot at the 205 title without defending his current title even once. Here are some of the reactions. "This is a wild fight. I think Khamzat runs Jiri over though. If an older Glover is giving you all kinds of problems on the ground, you're cooked against Chimaev. I've been saying it since he came into the UFC. Khamzat's the best grappler MMA has seen. His technique, power, and athleticism will be way too much for Prochazka. Terrible matchup for Jiri stylistically. Why are they giving the most inactive fighter a double champ opportunity for a boring fight? Please tell me this is incorrect. Absolute he gets a light heavyweight title fight, LMAO. What happened to champions defending the belt in their division? Everyone just wants to be a 2-division champ without really earning the title of 2-division champ. Chimaev hasn't even had a title defense and he gets to move up for the title? Are we serious? If this fight happens, Jiri smokes Khamzat. Bookmark this. Chimaev moves up with 0 defenses and Ulberg gets screwed. Pereira moves up with 0 defenses and Cheater Gan gets another shot. Good chance Ilya gets to move up again with 0 defenses, screwing welterweight contenders. What happened to a champ fighting the #1 contender? This quite literally turns the entire promotion on its head. Pereira moving up, Drake is getting an immediate title fight, possibly, maybe the winner of this weekend's main event versus Imavov. Ankalaev versus Ulberg. I mean, this truly shakes everything up so much. As much as I'm annoyed at Khamzat's tactics and inactivity, I'm really happy he's moving to 205. After Poatan left, the division is dead. The division desperately needs him. Makes perfect sense now, LMAO, why he training with Khalil. This is even worse than when Ilya vacated the belt at featherweight and ruined the division. Sean Strickland versus Drake du Plessis 3 for the vacant middleweight title is going to hit like crack. Take all this with a grain of salt. Nothing's confirmed, but there's a lot of signs pointing to this. As we're on the topic of Khamzat, he also talked about the altercation he had with Ian Machado Gary. For those that don't remember, back at UFC Qatar, Ian Gary was captured slapping Khamzat's back, but he did it too aggressively and a couple of times. And well, Khamzat then pushed him, and they started yelling at each other. Since then, Khamzat hasn't really spoken about the situation until now.
What happened with Ian Gary? Because I know there was a bit of a situation. What happened there?
No, he came back behind me and I was slapping my back, and he's trying to be respectful, but if you don't know someone, you come and he slap his back, touch me like I'm a kid, you know, so that's why I became mad. I said, be respectful.
Sure. Yeah. Fair enough, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, there should be a certain level of respect.
Anyone else in the street, you go to someone and you're gonna touch him like this and slap his back, he's gonna fight you as well.
Yeah, there's gonna be an issue, yeah.
Sean Strickland recently reacted to that Ian Gary altercation as well. He said Khamzat knowingly did all that because he knew he had his whole team with him.
I don't know, man. Chimaev's the kind of guy that, like, he only does some, I didn't even really watch it. He only does some, there's like 10 Chechens behind him. I mean, look at when Costa pulled his card, the PI, hold me back. So, whatever.
You think he's a fake tough guy, or?
I mean, he works off. The guy can fight. He's a world champion, you know. But just because you can fight, and just because, like, it doesn't really mean, like, doesn't make you like a man, you know. And there's these moments when, like, you see kind of like past, hey, I could fight. He works his off like Costa. It's just, I don't know. It's man.
Also, huge props to Khamzat for the way he's been helping his teammates. Not only did he get them an interview on the Jackson podcast, the first 20 minutes was not Khamzat, just teammates. He also brought them all brand new phones and headphones.
Like my legend. Was it I should tell
Multiple fighters pull out of UFC fights. As the next numbered event is only 2 weeks away, it looks like we're already getting changes to the card. Yesterday, we reported that the fight between Duško Todorovic and Dante Johnson was no longer happening, but the UFC found a replacement. Well, now it looks like another fighter has pulled out as well. According to Korean Martial Arts News on X, which was later verified by Big Marcel, Ju Sang-yu has pulled out of his fight against Gaston Bolaños. Luckily, the UFC was able to find a replacement quickly here. According to the report, Jung Young Lee will now be stepping in to face Bolaños. However, that wasn't the only fighter who pulled out. We also have a report from Guillaume Cruz that Mick Parkin is out of his fight with Mario Pinto at UFC London. The UFC found a replacement by signing a new fighter to the promotion, and it looks like Felipe Franco will now fight Pinto. UFC updates. Let's take a look at what's happening in the UFC. We'll kick things off with an update to our video from yesterday. Like we mentioned, UFC Canada was originally supposed to take place in Ottawa, but the location was moved to Winnipeg. And now the main event has been announced. According to reports, Gilbert Burns versus Mike Mallet will headline the April 18th card. As reporter Aaron Bronstetter pointed out, this will be the first time a Canadian-born fighter has headlined a UFC event in Canada since UFC 250, when Amanda Nunes fought Felicia Spencer. Next, we got Joshua Van seemingly confirming the UFC leaks. Like we mentioned in our videos this past week, the fight between Joshua Van and Tatsuro Taira was basically leaked. The UFC still hasn't made an official announcement yet, but Van appeared to confirm it during Friday's Q&A.
So you have Tatsuro Taira, who has a lot of hype in the UFC, and also Manel Kape, who's had a lot to say after his last fight. Which fight excites you more to start this title defense?
I'm fighting Tatsuro next, bro.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, let's move on to Bo Nickel. who once again is calling out Colby Covington for a fight at the White House. Recently, Covington has been calling out names like Paddy Pimblett as a potential next opponent, but Bo Nickel thinks Colby should move up and fight him at middleweight. Well, Bo Nickel sent another message to Colby, this time in a more respectful tone. I have a lot of respect for Colby Covington as a competitor and someone who never backs down from a challenge, the real American way. See you soon. Next, we have Jailton Almeida releasing a statement following his release from the UFC. Everyone already knows by now that Almeida was cut following his not so impressive performance in his last fight. He wanted to go down to light heavyweight, but the UFC cut him. Now, he released a statement. Guys, I'm here to thank all of you who cheer for me, who celebrate with me, and who followed my journey in the UFC. I had 11 fights, 4 performance of the night bonuses, and I feel very fulfilled to be part of this organization. Thanks to the entire UFC staff, everyone who helped me and gave the support. Everyone was polite and treated me well. It's not these 2 losses that will define who I am. I am a dedicated, focused, determined guy. Humble as I've always been. Next up, we got Bruce Buffer appearing on the Nelk Boys podcast, talking about how he protects his voice at all costs, and you won't ever hear him rehearsing or practicing because he wants it to sound organic when he steps into the octagon. Here's the clip.
Do you do like a vocal warm-up and like...
I take care of my voice. You know, I don't damage or do anything to hurt my throat or whatever. And you'll never hear me rehearse. You'll never walk by my room. You might walk by my room and hear me doing a cameo on the road or something like that, but you won't walk by my room and hear me going, you know, Chuck Liddell, you know, in the shower or something like that. No, I don't practice, because what I want to do is I want to walk into the arena, I want to feel the energy, and there's a rehearsed voice, and then there's an organic, real voice, and I want to just give it my all, feed off the energy of the crowd, bring it all in there and just let it fly.
As far as Bruce is concerned about his job as the UFC's announcer, he actually challenges someone to try to step up and take his spot.
Has there ever been another threat of this, this guy in the audience this young man has a nice strong voice, good chords in there?
You know what? If you're an announcer out there and you're watching this, bring it. That's all I can tell you, bring it. You get the job, good power to you, but just bring it.
You're not replaceable.
I'm not going anywhere.
You're not replaceable. Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm told I'm going somewhere, I'm not going anywhere. I love what I do, but come on, you young bucks, go for it.
MMA community furious with Dana White for huge deal. It was announced yesterday that Dana White's Zuffa Boxing had signed Eddie Hearn's boxer, Conor Benn, to a 1-fight deal worth over 8 figures, according to sources. Chris Mannix posted on X writing, Conor Benn's deal with Zuffa Boxing is a 1-fight, 8-figure deal. Sources told Sports Illustrated. Life-changing money for Benn, with a chance to hit free agency after his next fight. After it was revealed by Dan Rafael that the deal is for $15 million, that's insane. Anyways, this morning, Eddie Hearn reacted to the news, saying this.
You're a UFC fighter, you're looking at this Zuffa, going, what the I'm being absolutely ripped off here. I'm generating more revenue than these guys, and I'm getting a tenth of the money. But listen, there's no loyalty in that game. Look at Aspinall. I mean, he gets his eyes gouged out, and he just gets humiliated by UFC, and basically told everyone he's a liar and he's a you know what I mean? This is a cutthroat business.
Conor Benn signing for 8 figures obviously got people in the MMA community furious, as a lot of fighters in the UFC still struggle to make a decent living, with most of the roster not in the top 15 having regular jobs. A $10 million plus payday for one fight is just crazy, considering Dana gets mad when the media asks him about little 50K bonuses. Well, the MMA community fired back at Dana on X, writing, UFC fighters making 10K seeing this news. Man, if I'm a UFC fighter, I am pissed right now. One fight? Bro, why can't they pay their UFC fighters this money? Literally the people that made Dana White what he is today. UFC fighters should riot or something, cause this is crazy. UFC roster looking at this. Every single UFC fighter should refuse to fight again. Seems like he probably just became the highest paid fighter of any TKO property. Something for UFC fighters to think about. UFC fighter are going on a strike. This is insanity. I imagine the UFC fighter pay talk will now be at an all-time high. Kinda hard to justify a 12K contract when you can dish out an 8-figure payday for a boxer's promotional debut. Should be an interesting post-fight press conference this week at UFC Houston. 8 figures is crazy for a guy like Conor Benn. Plenty of UFC fighters who are more popular than him that make under $1 million a fight. Damn. And on top of all that, it doesn't help that Sean Strickland said this about fighter pay in a new interview.
No bonuses. No one's getting paid more. What's the new bonus? 150? The UFC is, as far as the pay scale, there is no, you compare it to any other sporting event, the UFC is the most up. If you compare it to like pay versus athletes versus what they're making, there is no argument there. It's not fair. It's predatory. There is no argument there. Now we're a bunch of idiots who take our clothes off and go fight for shorten our lives for this. So like, do we deserve better? I don't know. There's no argument here. The UFC is not it's predatory. You say no to a fight, well guess what? They're gonna go find some guy in some sand pit. They'll do it for 5-5.
It's pretty wild that Dana White can justify paying a boxer $10 million plus for one fight, while even the biggest UFC fighters are only getting a fraction of that for multi-fight deals. What are your thoughts on this situation? Let us know in the comments below. And that'll wrap up our video today. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a video. We'll see you all tomorrow.